and thank the individuals who are present at this meeting. Obviously, first and foremost, I'd like to take a moment and thank the parents for taking time out of their busy day to be here and ready. I also would like to thank the numerous staff members that are here as well. Those staff members are not officially on the clock yet. They will not be back into the building till next Thursday. But just like you parents, they are excited about the start of the new year, and they want to know the information as much as you do as well. I also am extremely thankful to both of my APs, Mr. Arduini and Mr. Thielen, who have been working around the clock this summer to assist and make sure that our school 2021 opening will go off without many hitches. Nurse Sanchez is also currently on this meeting, who will be assisting with any and all questions. Ms. Maldonado, thank you for all your help. Ms. Maldonado will be the one assisting me with the PowerPoint this morning. But definitely, as I'm looking through the numerous videos, I see many students. And I wanted to say to all of you, we are so excited about the start of the new school year. We miss all of you so very much and are looking forward to a very productive and very safe year. At this time, I'm going to ask for several things to take place while this meeting is taking place. The first is that if you should have any questions, please feel free to place the questions in the chat. Mr. Thielen will be monitoring the chat for those questions. So at this time, please only put questions into the chat. Mr. Arduini will be speaking after me. And basically, this meeting is going to be split into two parts. The first part is going to pertain to the COVID-19 regulations, which I will be talking about. And the second part will be done by Mr. Arduini, who will be talking about what the typical day at PS33 is going to look like. For those of you that attended PS33 in person last year, we've taken that information and kind of taken it to this year, but added additional steps. Since last year, we only had about 20 to 25% of our population in the building on any given day. We do anticipate to have to, as we go on at the start of the year, to tweak certain things, change certain things, adjust. But when you have the greatest parents in the DOE, just bear with us, because this experience, as it is new for you, as it is new for the students, is also going to be new for us. Immediately following the meeting, I will be placing 2 additional documents that were sent to me yesterday from the DOE on our ps33q.com website. That website, ps33q.com, is by far your most important information, or the best way that you can get information from the school. Again, I can't stress that enough. Of course, there's always ways that you can access that information also from the staff here at PS33. But I am going to ask you that prior to even sending an email, that you look first at our website to see if the information is there. And if you cannot find it, then we will assist you. But I think it's best now that, ultimately moving forward, that we all are under the same idea that when and if we have a question, let's first look at the website and then we can begin. All right, Ms. Maldonado, will you be so kind to start sharing your screen? Once again, parents, please make sure everybody is on mute. If you have any questions as we begin, please make sure to place those questions in the chat area. Okay. Okay. So I figured it would be best that we start with just basically a summary of the key dates that have been taking place since this pandemic started in March of 2020. In March of 2020, all schools in the DOE were effectively closed for all in-person learning. In May 2020, Governor Cuomo closed all K-12 schools statewide for the remaining part of the school year. In July of 2020, the New York State Department of Health, as well as the New York State Department of Education, released guidance that was going to guide us to the opening of September of 2020. In August of 2020, I, along with Mr. Dillon and Mr. Arduini, spent the summer creating a plan that had to be submitted to both the district office as well as the DOE. Once our plan was approved, that pretty much leads to the September 2020 opening. In September of 2020, the DOE began to open up the schools in which was known as the blended version, as well as the remote for all students. In July of 2021 of this year, the Summer Rising program started, with Summer Rising taking place at PS 295 for our students, and those students were in person. So that pretty much brings us to today, September 2021, where we are having this meeting so that we can discuss the next steps and how we are going to have to, if there was ever a time, parents, where we are going to have to work as one team, it is going to be this year. This is just a reminder, school does open for all in-person learning. And as of right now, the only model that the DOE will be using is an in-person model. So that begins on September 13th. Okay. Next, Jess. So basically, I wanted to stress two of our main goals. The first and most important goal is the safety and well-being of both our students and our staff. And the second one is high quality instruction for all students. So, how do we stay healthy? How do we stay safe? The first is I wanted to discuss the cleaning and the disinfecting and the sanitation protocols that were put in by the DOE, and that will be followed very tightly here at PS 33. Schools will be thoroughly cleaned on a daily basis. Frequently touched surfaces, such as light switches, door handles, stairway railings, soap dispensers will be cleaned and disinfected frequently. Each and every single classroom has been given a soap dispenser or a hand sanitizer dispenser. Those hand sanitizing dispensers are located outside of the room of each classroom and will be used quite frequently both by the students as well as the staff members. Our custodial staff will be following a schedule throughout the day where their job will be to go around and constantly disinfect and clean the areas that will be touched by numerous individuals, such as the doorknobs or the stairway railings that were discussed earlier. Outdoor areas will be routinely cleaned by our custodial staff. And we do intend, parents, to get the children outside more often this year. That's why the custodial staff will be out there frequently cleaning the park area as well. And like I said previously, students will sanitize before and after if they use any shared equipment. We are going to do our very best to not be sharing any sort of equipment in the classroom, but sometimes kids will be kids, and if and when we do see that, or the teacher sees that, those items will be sanitized. Adequate ventilation also plays an important part in helping us combat this virus. We have been given two air purifiers that will be placed in every single classroom. Last year, the DOE provided each classroom with one. This year, they've taken it upon themselves to put 2 air purifiers into each and every single classroom, based on the fact that each and every classroom will have double, sometimes the amount of students that were present last year. The windows in each classroom will remain open, and I am very happy to tell you that throughout the work last year, we were able to get an air conditioner into each and every single classroom. So those air conditioners will also be staying on throughout the course of the day, as well as teachers' doors will remain open. Go to the next slide. So let's talk a little bit about healthy hygiene practices. The continued practice of proper and healthy hygiene practices will be reinforced throughout this year with the use of educational videos, appropriate signs that will be hanging around the school to, basically not only instruct, but remind both the students and staff the correct way that things need to be done in order so that we can help each other out along with this virus. We will ensure that the adequate supplies are available to support healthy hygiene behaviors, such as the soap dispensers, antibacterial, trash cans, masks, and hand sanitizers. Signs will be displayed, like I said previously, in the common areas, such as the building entrances, cafeteria, and other dining spaces, classrooms, administrative offices, etc. Throughout the day, teachers will build in frequent hand washing breaks, in addition to washing hands before and after meals. Hand sanitizers, again, will be placed in common areas. Next, Jess. So, here is where I am going to need all of our parents to assist and remind their children that in order to remain safe, we are going to have to follow these guidelines extremely, extremely tight. To the greatest extent possible, again, and I say that again, to the greatest extent possible, students will remain 3 feet from each other. All individuals, both staff and students, will be wearing face masks and engage in frequent hand washing and hand hygiene practices. All students, and I repeat, all students must wear a mask when entering the building or the school bus. All students must also wear a mask whenever they are on school property. That means if the student is in the classroom, if the student is in the hallway, students are in the bathroom, moving around the classroom, they must constantly wear the face mask. Mask breaks will be provided throughout the day. More information to come out about that later. Students will not be required to wear a mask when they are eating breakfast and/or lunch. Breakfast and lunch will be discussed later by Mr. Arduini. PS33 will maintain an adequate stock of PPE equipment, and if and when we are in need of additional equipment, an order will be placed by our custodial staff. But I assure you, parents, we have plenty, and I mean plenty of equipment to get us up and running and to last at least the first 3 months of school. Students' desks will be spaced so that students are at least 3 feet apart in classrooms. And they will not be, in the past, when a parent walked into the classroom, the students were grouped in tables, or the desks were arranged in a table formation. That is no longer going to be taking place. Each student will have a 3-foot space from the next child. Most likely, the best visual I can give you is that the students will be in rows and that the students will all be facing the same direction. To maximize social distancing, any extra furniture, such as bookcases or other items in the classroom will have to be either moved to the side or taken out of the classroom. Last year, we did have the luxury of not having to get rid or move any of those items, but that also was due to the fact that we did not have as many students in each particular classroom as we will be having this year. Painter's tape will be lining the hallways so that it reminds the children that there will be one side for this. When two classes are passing each other, that they will remain at a distance from each other, rather than in the past. Sometimes there might have been some confusion by students, or they would drift into another class. We want to do this, once again, parents, to just give our students the best chance against this virus. Next, Jess. So, daily health checks and screening. Now, some of this information is different from than last year. Some of this information obviously is new to the parents who might have kept their kids remote only last year. One of the things that we had to do last year was, prior to any child entering the building, they had to have their temperature checked. And when I say child, parents, I do mean any individual who was entering the building. But right now, my focus is on the children. They had to have their temperature checked. Effective last week, the city released guidance that they are going to require that parents take the temperature of their child prior to leaving the building and arriving at school. So once again, parents, it is going to be your responsibility to take your child's temperature prior to leaving the house and prior to arriving at school. There will also be a health screening form that you can fill out via on your phone or your child's iPad. But prior for the children entering the building, they must show that the health screening was completed. Any visitor that must enter the building will also be subject to the same temperature check as well as questionnaire that we are requesting that your children fill out, or that you do to your children prior to exiting or arriving at school. The school administrators, nurses, will relocate individuals who do have COVID-19 symptoms to what is known as an isolation area, and follow protocols to not only make sure that they are safe, but any individuals that were close contacts to that particular individual will also be kept safe and monitored. No one, I repeat, no one can enter a building when their temperature is 100 degrees or higher. Parents, please, 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 if for whatever reason, when you take your child's temperature in the morning and that temperature is 100 degrees or higher, please do not send them to the building. Okay? Thank you. So, now let's talk about some additional things that the city has instituted this year. 10%, I repeat, 10% of the students, which is approximately this year 80 to 100 students, as well as staff members, who have consented to testing in grades 1 through 5, will be selected twice a month for ongoing random testing. Last year, the DOE had surveillance testing done at each and every school once a week. The individuals that were selected were chosen at random and were brought down to the cafeteria, in which a DOE or Department of Health nurses came to the building and tested those individuals. Parents, those forms to consent to testing can be filled out on the New York City Schools account. The New York City Schools account, for those of you who have yet to complete that process, is extremely, extremely important. And I tell you that because not only is it going to give you information such as the forms, it is going to also give you additional information pertaining to your child, as well as things that might occur throughout this school year. Last year, we spent numerous days, hours, weeks, months, making sure that every parent had signed on or signed up to the New York City Schools account. Parents, please make sure prior to sending your child on September 13th that you have logged in if you already belong or are registered to the New York City Schools account, and make sure that your username and password are up to date. And for any parent who has yet to sign up or sign into the New York City Schools account, that you please do so prior to September 13th. Next.
Can I just tell them that if they have not signed up, they have to email me so they can get an authorization letter? It's a mandated account. Thank you.
No, thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Okay, so now I'm going to talk up to you about what's going to take place here when a student develops COVID-19 symptoms. A classroom teacher or school aide will notify the nurse or administrator when a student is not feeling well. If that student is exhibiting a cough, or the student says he or she is not feeling well, or that we see a shortness in breath in that student will be immediately brought down to the nurse's office, in which we would do, the first thing obviously is take the temperature of the child. If unfortunately that child's temperature is above 100 degrees, that child will then be removed immediately from the nurse's office and placed in the isolation room. The isolation room last year was manned by me. This year it will be the same. You will then receive a phone call from a staff member at the school. And at that time, we are going to ask that you get up to the school as quickly as possible. Okay? Next, Jess. When a student develops COVID-19 symptoms continued, the area classroom where the student was showing symptoms must be isolated and will be closed immediately so that we can clean that occupancy. The school, again, will call the parent's guardian to pick up. The student cannot be released to the guardian until the nurse's health assessment is completed, which Ms. Sanchez has been more than amazing to help me with last year and will continue to do so this year. Upon arrival of the student's guardian, a staff member, either an administrator, school aide, or myself, will escort the student directly to the visitor's entrance, which is the main entrance on 222nd Street for pickup. This year, parents, we are going to limit, and I mean we are going to limit like we've never done before, the amount of adults that will be allowed into this building. And even so, when you do have an emergency, we will ask that you wait down by the security desk. And please be patient because, again, there are only a few number of individuals that will be able to go up and get your child and bring that child down. So if you know for sure that you will be taking or picking up your child earlier than the normal dismissal time, please notify the child's classroom teacher. And if you do say that you are going to be here at 11, please make sure that you are here at 11 so that the child is not in limbo or we are just waiting alone with the child. Upon arrival of the student's gone, like I said, the staff member will report the incident to the principal, in which at that time then, I will have to make a call to what is known as the DOE situation room. The situation room will provide me with a letter to be given out to the school community regarding that student. Obviously, names will not be on the letter. I know that many of you received those letters last year, even remote students as well. I wanted to make sure that even though we were running 2 different schools last year, that the whole community was informed of any and all situations that were taking place at their child's school. Next, Jess. So, what if a student is out sick with COVID-like symptoms or because someone in the household is sick with COVID-like symptoms? Should a student or staff member call out sick because they are experiencing symptoms of COVID-19, once again, the principal or administrator will call the situation room and await the next steps. Individuals who are vaccinated against COVID-19 within the past 3 days may experience post-vaccine symptoms, which include fatigue, fever, headache, and/or chills. Now, we both know that the vaccine has not been released for children who are attending PS33 as of yet. So that particular part only pertains to the adults and the staff members. So what do I do, or when will my child return to school after showing symptoms? The following information was given to me by the Department of Health and the DOE. Any individual showing signs of COVID-19 can only return to the school when the following conditions are met: received a positive COVID-19 test and has isolated for 10 days. And the individual has been fever-free for 24 hours without the use of any medication, or overall symptoms are improving. Once again, parents, I do know how difficult it is that if and when your child, whether they are an individual who is diagnosed with COVID or might be a close contact, which we will talk about in the future, I do understand how difficult that is. However, these are the guidelines set forth by the DOE, and we are going to follow them to the best of we are going to follow them so that we can make sure that each and every other student will be safe. Received a negative COVID-19 test since the onset of symptoms. The negative result must have been from a test that tested saliva or used a nose or throat swab, not a blood test. And again, the individual has been fever-free for 24 hours. Never get a COVID test, or if your child doesn't get a COVID test, at least 10 days have passed since the symptoms started, and the individual, once again, is fever-free for 24 hours without the use of medication. Lastly, if the individual, whether it be staff or parent, was vaccinated within the last, I apologize, somebody blocked it with a question. Okay, past 3 days. So next slide, Jess. Students and staff identified as close contacts in a COVID-19 case. Okay, so this is where it becomes difficult even more so. And I'm just being honest. When we call the situation room, okay, they direct us with the next steps. Our responsibility is to provide them with a list of individuals who were considered a close contact of a positive case. Those individuals who are considered close contacts to the positive case must still quarantine for 10 days. The individual must continue to be daily or monitored daily through those 10 days and remain symptom-free with non-medical interventions. Should the individual develop symptoms, those individuals must also not attend school. You can go to the next slide, Jess. What do we do if there is a confirmed positive COVID-19 case in the school? So there are several different scenarios that we're going to talk about in the next 3 slides. So the first is, what if while the child is at home or on the weekend and they exhibit the signs and you take them to the doctor and the doctor gives them the COVID-19 test and it's a positive? What I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to pretty much mandate that you do this, is that you notify the school immediately, okay? Once you notify the school immediately, I'm going to also need documentation from the doctor, because once you call me and give me the documentation, I am then going to have to reach out to the situation room, notify them of the positive case, in which they will then ask the close contact list, and basically they will then make the determining factor as to what the next step will be. You can go to the next slide, Jess. Okay, so now, what are we going to do here at PS33, or what is going to take place in the DOE if there are 2 or 3 confirmed cases in a school in different classrooms within a 7-day period? In the event of 2 or 3 confirmed cases, the situation room will be notified, obviously. The situation room will let me or an administrator know of the confirmed case and activate the COVID-19 protocols. The principal or the designee must follow all the steps outlined above under the 1 confirmed case. Classroom closures due to COVID-19 exposures will vary by grade level. In elementary schools, affected classrooms will remain closed for 10 days, and those students will automatically transition into remote learning. Once again, if your child is considered to be a close contact with an individual in their class, a staff member in their class, they will then automatically have to transition into the 10-day quarantine. They will not be allowed, even with a negative test result as of yet, to return to school. And here's what I'm going to ask your assistance on as well. Last year, when this took place in our school and the situation room was notified, there were times where they did not get back to me till 7 p.m., 8 p.m. at night, sometimes even later. And the administrative team, along with Ms. Maldonado and the classroom teachers, you might very well be getting phone calls as late as 9:30, 10 p.m. You might very well be getting emails as late as 9:30, 10 p.m. You might very well show up the next day anticipating that your child will be attending PS33, only to, due to the DOE regulations, me having to have a discussion with you to tell you that unfortunately your child was considered a close contact with somebody who tested positive for COVID-19, and that your child would not be allowed to attend PS33, and they would go immediately into remote situations. Again, parents, you know, one of the most difficult things last year was the waiting for the situation room to give guidance. So this year, again, you know, I am going to be speaking to the teachers on how we can make this transition or this time when an event like this should occur this year as easy for you, so that you have enough time as a parent to get coverage should you need it for your child, or somebody to watch your child while you attend work. But please understand, I do know that there are circumstances that are beyond your control, but due to the DOE regulations, there are no exceptions. If your child is considered by the situation room or the DOE to be a close contact, they will not be allowed back into the building until the situation room gives me the date of the return for those individuals. Last slide, Jess. So I want to thank all of the parents last year, because we were ranked, I believe, either first or second in the district with the fewest school closures. And I truly believe that it was that way because, number one, we had a goal, we had a set plan. We did things different than other schools. But ultimately, it came down to, we are a community here. We are all in this together. And ultimately, with your help as parents, we were able to, if and when a child was ill, they were not being sent to school, okay? Unfortunately, that's not always the case in schools, but I wanted to take a moment and thank all the parents. For those of you that will be sending your children back to school for the first time since March of 2020, in order for us to continue to make sure that your children get the most in-person education as possible, we are going to ask that, again, you follow those steps that were set at the very beginning, with the temperature checks in the morning, the screenings. If your child's not feeling well, they stay home. If your child is considered a close contact, they stay home. They don't go out after, okay? Because we did have situations where kids were considered close contacts and then they were hanging out with kids after school. So if in the event of 4 or more confirmed 19 cases, and 4 or more in different classrooms might not always be an accurate statement, because it could be where these 4 cases, although they're in 4 different classrooms, 2 of those individuals in those 4 classes could be siblings, in which the DOE might not consider that a 4th member or 4th student or 4th staff member who is in this mix. So once again, all of these decisions as to whether a classroom closure takes place or whether a school closure takes place, although the information is coming from your administration, it is also being given to us by the DOE. So in elementary schools, affected classrooms will remain closed for 10 days and those students will transition to remote learning. If in the event the school should close, then the entire school will transition into remote learning the very next day, okay? So once again, I just wanted to take this opportunity and thank all the parents of last year and thank the parents of this year in order that we continue to maintain the health and safety of all of our students and staff, that we do the necessary steps to make sure that not only your child is safe, but your child's friends, teachers, remain safe as well. Before I hand it off to Mr. Arduini at this moment, at the very end, we will be answering the questions that you post in the chat. Once again, if you do have any questions, and I'm sure you do, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, some of those questions I still can't answer. And I know that's difficult as a parent to hear, well, there's 12 days prior to the school year, and what do you mean as the principal you don't know the answer? And I'll tell you a little story. It was about Thursday. It's a quick story, I promise. It was Thursday of last week, and I had received information at 9:30 a.m., the latest and greatest information, and the city said this is absolutely final. Okay. So I begin to work on the PowerPoint, going through the steps, talking to administration, reaching out to unions, reaching out to staff members. By 5:30 p.m., the information had completely changed. So what I'm trying to get at here is that this is going to need to be a year where everybody has patience, everybody has an understanding, everybody is willing to chip in some way, shape, or form. Everyone is going to be put into circumstances or situations where at times it's going to be, like I said, if you don't get that email at night, it's not because we didn't want to send it out to you, it's because we were informed at 1:30 in the morning that this class might be closed. So it is going to take a huge team effort. And since the whole population is going to be returning 100% in person as of today still, I foresee many of the situations that we discussed about, such as classroom closures or possible school closures, to be taking place. Okay? We want to do everything to make sure that those occurrences happen very few times. But I want to also be honest with you, my parents, that the likelihood is it's going to happen. Okay? So please have a backup plan, parents, in the event. Okay? I can't predict when it will happen. All I can tell you is that going across the nation, all the school systems that have already returned have hit these roadblocks. And so the last thing I'd want any parent to be is unprepared or not prepared for that situation. So we are going to do everything in our part to make sure your children stay healthy and safe. But we can't do everything. Not with this pandemic. So I'm going to pass the ball over to Mr. Arduini, in which he's going to be discussing with you the typical day at PS33 and what it's going to look like and how it's going to differ maybe a little bit from last year, or it's going to completely differ from prior to March 2020, okay? But again, we will come back at the very end to answer some of the questions. Mr. Thielen has been monitoring those questions. But the last thing I'm going to say to you, honestly, is I might not have the answer to the question, at least not yet. Okay? So, Mr. Arduini, the community is all yours.
Get ready to rumble! Oh, hey everyone. I didn't know I was on yet. Oh my goodness. I'm so embarrassed. Good morning, everyone. It's nice to see everyone. Lovely faces and some smiles. I see you guys laughing at me. So, for time's sake, we're going to go through our typical day. Hopefully, we'll answer some of your questions because I see there's a bunch of them in the chat. We're up to like 720 questions, so hopefully I can answer a few of them. For those of you that were here last year in person, it's going to be similar, but like Mr. Gatto said, that was a very small percentage. So you're going to hear a lot of information right now, parents. It may get or seem overwhelming, but it will be fine. After the first couple of days, we'll get into the routines and everyone will be doing their thing. So let's start with the morning. Our doors do not open until 8 a.m. So if you are here before then, unfortunately, there's not going to be anyone to watch your children. So the doors are going to open at 8 a.m. Where does my child go? Every grade will have their own entrance. Every grade has their own entrance. I will tell you where your entrances are right now, but the first day of school, there's going to be a lot of staff outside helping you. The areas where your child should go will be labeled with their grade on the door. So kindergarten will be on the ramp, like the side ramp by the cafeteria. That's where you're going to line up. First grade is going to be around the back of the ramp, like the back of the building by the school yard area. Second and third grade are going to be in the inner yard when you come in, where all those wolf faces are, the big wolf. The inner yard is for second and third grade. Fourth grade, you will line up at the auditorium doors. And then fifth grade will line up. Mr. Thielen, what exactly is fifth grade, the street?
Fifth grade street is 92nd Avenue. It's where our buses drop off and pick students up.
Okay, that's where fifth grade will line up. So, but like I said, you don't have to be running to get a pen or a paper right now. There's going to be a ton of people out there that morning. And once you see where your child has to go, you'll be fine. And so what happens is they line up at their spot and they're going directly into the building, straight to their classroom. On the way to their classroom is where they're going to grab breakfast. So there's going to be breakfast at every entrance for every grade, and they don't have to take breakfast if they don't want. You could send them with a little breakfast. I mean, don't send them with like a nice sandwich and then like side hash browns and like some syrup and eggs, and it's going to be a working breakfast. So they'll grab a breakfast on the way up to the classroom, go directly into their classroom where their teacher will be waiting for them, and have working breakfast. How long will their breakfast be? It's not official. We're pretty much going to speak to our teachers, and it's pretty much depending on grade. The little guys need some more time. The older ones can go a little quicker. So that's how that's going to go in the morning. When they get here, they're going to go straight up to the room. The teacher will not be outside. They're not going to be lining up in the yard. They're going right up. That will alleviate a lot of crowding. Also, a reminder, like Mr. Gatto said, you have to be wearing a mask. Even if you're dropping your child off in the yard, you have to come in wearing a mask. And like I said, it was a small percentage last year, but it was great. Everyone did it. So it's the same thing as that. Adding on to entrances, every grade has their own bathroom, has their own stairwell that they'll share only with their grade. As far as bathrooms, we're in the works with talking to the teachers of how we're going to monitor the bathrooms to make sure there's not overflow of students using the bathrooms. Obviously, you want to have your child try to go to the bathroom before school starts. I know everyone, it could just happen, they have to go to the bathroom, I get it. But maybe just a little extra check on them before you leave. In addition to the first day, your child is going to be going up to the room by themselves. Usually in the past, you would go up with them because they have about 700 pounds of supplies. So for the parents on right now, and this is being recorded, so hopefully anyone that watches, we're going to ask that you stagger and send the supplies in little by little. Obviously, you want to send them in with the stuff they really need, like notebooks and whatnot. But like if there's any classroom supplies that are being requested, hand sanitizer or paper towels, whatever it may be, those kind of things you might want to send in one a day. Maybe on Monday they come in with the hand sanitizer, Tuesday they bring the paper towels, Wednesday whatever, instead of having them lug up really heavy bags up the stairs. I don't mind helping them, but I can't do it for everyone. So that's okay if you do that with the supplies in the beginning, staggered, and you do not have to carry that all on the first day. Mr. Thielen, before I move on, I know you, me, and Mr. Gatto are speaking. In kindergarten, are they different for the lineup in the morning?
The only difference will be that kindergarten's going to be going into the cafeteria where they will meet their teacher. So they won't have to navigate the stairs in an unfamiliar building that first day. Their teachers will meet them right in the cafeteria and then walk the class up as a whole. I did see one other question about the kindergarten entrance. It's going to be in the rear of the building. There's a ramp leading into the cafeteria. For any of our new kindergarten families, first of all, let me welcome you to our school community. There will be a kindergarten orientation meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock where I will be going over all the specifics for all of our new kindergarten families and students. So that answer will be answered. That question will be answered then. And just like today's meeting and PowerPoint and video of our meeting, it will also be posted on our school website for everyone that wasn't able to make today's meeting.
Thank you. Also, as far as the other children, like our first, second, third, fourth, fifth graders, they will be entering their own entrances, but I want to remind you as well, there will be staff the first week or so in the stairwells. Like there'll be a staff member at each door, but when they're going up the stairs, there will be staff strategically placed in the stairwells to help them along as well. Some of our kids got to get up to the fifth floor, fourth floor, so there will be staff throughout.
And just to piggyback off of what Mr. Arduini said, we were one of the very few schools last year that had their own staircases per grade. So when they enter that door, they are going up the staircase that only that particular grade would be going up. And they will utilize that staircase throughout the course of the day, and they will be the only grade using that particular staircase. And we're doing that to, again, put extra steps into making sure that your children remain healthy and safe. So you can, that's perfect.
And adding on
Mr.
really quick, sorry, Ms. Maldonado.
No, it's okay. I just want to, there's some parents that are entering now to the meeting. Some of the questions you're asking in the chat, our administrators covered, and we're going to make this available to you. So the meeting will be available for you to go over when you have the time, okay? And all that information is there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So adding on to what Mr. Thielen was saying, with the kindergarten going into the cafeteria for their teachers to pick them up, you may be wondering, how are they all fitting in there? I'm going to tie that into lunch right now, because there's some questions about where they're going to have lunch. As of right now, Mr. Thielen, Mr. Gatto, and myself have been walking the building with our head custodian, and we've strategically been looking for places and spots. We've had rulers out, we're measuring, we're role playing and sitting at our tables and talking when we shouldn't be talking and getting in trouble with the school aides and all that stuff. So as of right now, we have 2 locations that we have set up. We're going to be able to, as of right now, have a grade. Let's just use 1st and 5th grade, because every lunch period is 2 grades. So let's say we have figured it out where 1 grade can be alone in 1 location, and then another grade can be alone in another location. So the 2 grades can have lunch outside of the classroom in 2 separate locations. So for example, 1st and 5th grade will never share the same space to eat. So like I said, the cafeteria, we obviously have measured and figured out how we could possibly fit a grade in there based on the numbers in that grade. So unfortunately, if it's a larger grade, they might not be able to use that space. If it's a smaller grade, and it goes by its numbers, it's a numbers game. It could be 30 less that grade's able to sit in the cafeteria. So yes, breakfast will be in the classrooms. As of right now, lunch will be outside the classroom in separate locations per grade. And I don't want to tell you any locations 100% yet, because like Mr. Gatto said, things are changing every day. And I'd rather tell you, or your child can tell you when they come home the first day of school and say, I had lunch at McDonald's. No, I'm kidding. I had lunch in the auditorium. I had lunch in the cafeteria. I had lunch, whatever. So like I said, they will be able to eat lunch outside the classroom in separate locations. I'm going backwards right now because I'm seeing another note and I saw it pop up here. Supplies, a lot of questions about school supplies. On the website, it was always on the website, but Ms. Boland has it now where it's on the main page. It says school supplies, I believe. You click on it and then it brings you right to your child's grade and teacher.
A majority of the supplies were grade-based. It's not an individual. So for example, if your child has teacher A and teacher A from grade 1 is not requesting anything different than teacher B from grade 1. So again, no worry. It's important, parents, for you to look at the ps33q.com website. That a majority of the easiest way for us to get information out to you when it pertains to the whole entire school or maybe even a particular grade, rather than having to reach out to 120 individuals, we will be posting it on our website. And then obviously the teachers might very well send a message, hey parents, please go check the website. Or, ultimately if we have to contact you individually or as a class, we will be doing that via phone, via text, via email. We will be covering all the bases. To again, just piggyback off what Mr. Arduini said about lunch, for the month of September and October, the DOE has stated that the only lunches that will be served will be cold lunches, okay? I already had a meeting with the food staff individuals as well as their manager. So again, for September and October, there will not be a hot lunch provided. And that's due to the fact of what Mr. Arduini said. or saying is that obviously in our main cafeteria, that's where the kitchens are. We can't bring the kitchen to any other place in the school. And we don't want children carrying hot trays. We don't want children traveling with any food per se. So if your child is at one of the other locations other than the cafeteria, when they arrive at that location, their lunches will already be there for them. Again, I am sitting down with the food managers again tomorrow to address the items that will be on or added this year. I do know that many of the parents were concerned last year, but again, through communication with parents, that's how we can only get better at a school, but also understand that we are doing everything in our power here to give your child the most like school experience prior to March of 2020, but knowing that things are going to have to change in order to maintain safety, maintain health, maintain education here at 33. So, Mr. Arduini, it's all yours again.
Thanks. So really quick, let's jump to the classroom. Like Mr. Gatto said, teachers were asked to please, get rid of any extra materials or whatnot that weren't necessary at the moment, maybe store them away to make as much space as possible, because we are doing everything in our power to keep that 3 feet apart rule intact. And for the most part, it will work out. It's just going to be like they're sitting in rows, like when we were all in school. Well, actually, some of you are young. So when I was in school, in rows, that is the way it has to be. So if they're not in groups, it's not because the teacher. It has to be 3 feet apart in the classroom. And then teachers will have their classroom rules for your child about using the bathroom and all that. Every room has, I know Mr. Gatto said this, but every room has hand sanitizer dispensers, 2 air purifiers, windows are open. We got air conditioning in the entire school now. Every room has air conditioning from the 5th floor down. Those will be on while the windows are open. And then the masks, that's going to be another big thing. Children have to wear masks. What do you say to me? What are you going to do if my child doesn't wear the mask, or if they don't want to wear the mask, or whatever? Obviously, we have strategies or come up with strategies to encourage them to wear the mask, and as gentle as possible, because I understand this is not really, I get it. I have 2 kids. So they have to wear it, though. What it comes down to in the end, they have to wear it. So if you know your child struggles to wear the mask, maybe now you start practicing. How do I practice? If they go on the iPad, they have to wear it for 10 minutes while they're on the iPad. They have to wear it for 5 minutes on the iPad. Then maybe in 2 days, they have to wear it for 6 minutes, then 7 minutes, then 8 minutes. Add a minute on every day. Some of you may already be doing this, but I gave the same recommendation last year. If your child struggles wearing the mask, practice with them now. Whenever they want to play their PS5 or PS4 or Xbox or tablet or computer game, whatever, they have to wear it for 5-10 minutes. And that's just for practice. It's not punishment. You're just training them to do it. That's what you have to explain to them. It's not a punishment. You're training them. It's like you're getting ready for the big game, which is school, which I cannot wait to see everyone again, because I missed most of you last year. No, I'm kidding. I missed all of you. So I'm just looking at a question.
I can give you some of the questions.
No, I'm just seeing, I see what, sorry to interrupt you. I just saw the one, how will they be 3 feet apart at all times? Believe it or not, last year, when we had to be 6 feet apart, teachers would do it. You have to remember, there's going to be very little movement in the building, except for them coming into the building, going to lunch, and then leaving. Because as of right now, we're also having, we're working on the prep teachers and how that's going to work, and they might be visiting the classes. Less movement as possible. But 3 feet apart in the hallway, yeah, the lines look really big, but they can do it. 3 feet apart if you're not in the building, but it's like 3 squares. And like Mr. Gatto said, there's going to be blue tape in all the hallways and reminders, and the teachers are going to be diligent in making sure they do it. Class size varies. We'll talk about that more in a moment. I just want to finish up so we can get to the questions. So dismissal time, your child will exit the same way they entered. So if they're a fourth grader and they came in the auditorium doors, their teacher is bringing them out that exit the auditorium doors at 2:15, I would say. 2:20 is the end of the school day. By the time they make it down, 2:15, they start walking down. It would be great for you to be there for them at 2:20 to greet them. And it will make everything go smoother overall. So getting here on time is really imperative and important for the building, but more importantly, your own child. I remember when I would pick my daughter up from school like 4 minutes late sometimes, she would give me the biggest attitude ever. And I'd be like, oh my goodness, I was stuck in traffic for 4 minutes. But the 4 minutes we could understand, but when it's 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes late, then it's then we have to have a discussion. So try your best to get here on time for dismissal, or arrange for someone to be here to get them. Gentlemen, Mr. Thielen, Mr. Gatto. Oh, before I leave you guys all, I was trying to look for a good song to go out on, but I couldn't find anything. But I will see everyone next week. I can't wait to see you guys. Mr. Thielen is going to start giving us some questions, and then we will answer them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Arduini. So remember, parents, I've been going through the questions as they're popping up. So I think it's best that I kind of start at the ones that I see that were not answered, and then we can briefly review the ones that were already answered. But again, you know, this information, this Zoom will be available on our website to further assist you. So question number one, will there be a first grade orientation? No.
I answered that.
Okay, there will not be a first grade orientation. There will be a kindergarten orientation tomorrow.
This is it.
This is the first grade orientation. School supplies, like Mr. Arduini stated. Parents, there is no reason why your children need to show up on day one with every item that's on the supply list. Okay? Use the first week of school, which begins on September 13th, by strategically placing the items in the child's school bag so that the school bag is not heavy for your child. Okay? Again, also realize that although your children will be coming in with the supplies, they might very well be coming home with books. So you're going to have to strategically place those items so that the book bag is not heavy for them. I am advising the teachers that for the first week, that the workbooks that the children are not going, the children have for their particular grade will not be given out so that they can continue to bring in their supplies. The iPads, I see a question here, the iPads that were given out to the students last year, the students can very well and should be bringing them to school each and every single day. We are going to try to make it as easy for the children, as easy for you, so that in the event that your class or your child's class has to have a classroom closure or a school closure, they will be easily well adjusted to go right to the iPad. Let's see.
After school busing.
Okay, so I'm still waiting on clarification about busing. I know that a majority of you have been emailing me, and I have been emailing the individuals pertaining to busing. Ultimately, you know, busing is determined by the DOE and the Office of Pupil Transportation. Whether or not your child is allowed to ride the bus based off of the distance from the school to the home address, I have no say over that. Okay, that is strictly a DOE regulation. And ultimately, you know, I'm going to ask for your patience. Okay, as soon as I get additional information, it will either be posted on the website. You might find out about it on the first day. But what I can say is that there is a likelihood that busing will not start immediately. Okay? Again, I know it's a difficult thing to hear, but please understand it's not because 33 doesn't want busing to start right away. It's that we have to check to make sure that your child is entitled to busing, and that how is the DOE going to do the busing? Okay. Let's see, I'm just going down the questions. As of now, like Mr. Arduini said, lunch will be in 2 different locations based on your class, based on your child's class, based on the DOE's formula as to how many children are allowed or how many individuals are allowed in a classroom. And every classroom might differ based on the square footage of the classroom. That will determine how many children are in a particular class as well. Let's see.
Uniforms.
Uniforms, okay, so uniforms are not mandated at 33. However, if you would like to send your child in a uniform, the uniform here for boys is a white shirt. It could be a polo type, similar to this, or it could be a complete button down and a blue pair of slacks. For girls, it's the same thing, a white shirt, a blue skirt, or a blue pair of slacks as well. Okay.
Pre-K is starting at the same time, correct?
Yes. All schools, all times will start at the same time. All classes, all students start at the same time. And like Mr. Arduini said, you know, ultimately the doors can't open till 8 a.m. If we are practicing 3 feet distance from the moment they arrive at 8:01 till 2:20, and you are standing outside in clusters, boys and girls, not 3 feet apart. Parents, you are coming with them and you are not 3 feet apart from the next child online. Then all the work that we're doing in the building might not matter. So again, ultimately, it comes down to teamwork. It comes down to you doing what you need to do, us doing what we need to do, and then together we're doing it so that your child is safe, healthy, and receiving an in-person education.
Dismissal time?
Dismissal time is at 2:20, okay? We might stagger dismissal time, meaning that we might say that a particular grade, maybe let's be K and 1, 2:10, because we know parents can't be at 2 locations at the same time, okay? So 2:10, you go get your younger one, 2:20, you go to the next door to get your older one. Again, you will be amazed, parents, on how well children listen when they are told over and over that this needs to be done in order for them to continue to come to school. All children want to come to school. Okay, they love coming to school. They love coming to 33. So again, just reiterate with them, practice with them, like Mr. Arduini said, whether it be mask wearing, whether it be 3 feet apart. Speak to them how they should act in the bathroom. Speak to them about not taking off their mask because they think it's too cool and based off of the DOE regulations. Okay? Drop-offs will be labeled outside. Again, staff will be present both outside as well as in the staircases to make sure your children get to their class. Let me see, any other questions? The majority of them seem to be school supply list. New school account for my son. Okay, if you need to get a New York City schools account, please email Ms. Maldonado.
I know there's some individuals emailing me now. I will get to your email. You may be getting an auto reply. So the message is not empty. It's just stating to continue to check our website as a reminder.
Okay.
I will give you that information as soon as we're done with the meeting.
So I see a question here that was posted as of 10/29. Will remote or online learning still be available for parents who are not comfortable sending to the school during the pandemic? Right now, on September 2nd, at 11:15 a.m., there is no remote learning for any student in the DOE. All students must be in person. Okay? Again, that's not a 33 decision, that's a DOE decision. So I do understand, and I do understand very well that some of you are apprehensive Some of you are nervous. Some of you are concerned. But right now, the DOE is only offering for in-person education.
Really quick, sorry, someone adding to that. If the class has to quarantine, will there be remote instruction? Absolutely will be remote instruction. Teachers, all teachers will have a Google Classroom set up strictly for that purpose. Maybe other reasons moving forward, but as of right now, they will all have a Google Classroom in the event that there is a shutdown within that class or whatever, the building, the class. If they are quarantined, though, they will be instruction remotely.
Okay, so where will the health screening form be found? We will put that on the website as well. Okay.
And parents, if you don't find it on our website, the DOE has their own website as well, just in case. But we keep our website as updated as possible whenever Mr. Gatto gets information. But you can also check schools.nyc.gov. Okay. After school was another question.
Okay. So as of right now, and again, like I said, I can't, although this is the presentation for the 21-22 school year, even things that I'm saying now, most likely, things will change. And I can't say they're going to always change for the better, depending upon your definition of better, parents, or they're going to change for the worse. Right now, after school, at least for the first week, maybe longer, there will be no after school at PS 33. Okay, and there are numerous reasons, and I'm waiting for clarification from the DOE. I'm waiting for clarification from any of the agencies that might be used for an after-school program. But as of right now, ultimately, I'm going to be honest with you. If you send your child to after school, okay, and one of the individuals in after school who is not in your child's class gets COVID, then your child will automatically be part of the close contact list in which they will have to quarantine for 10 days. Okay? So again, a lot of information is being given out today. There's a lot of information that still needs to be given out. There is a lot of information that I still can't answer because I'm waiting to hear from the DOE about this particular situation, this particular question that you might have. And if I know anything, I know that I will be getting constant changes probably up until September 12th. Okay? So again, the one thing I ask of you is, and you have been all so amazing, is to just be patient, be understanding, and be ready to move in a different direction if we have to. Let's see. Okay. Okay.
If you'd like, Mr. Gatto, I can kind of jump in and answer some of the questions that I've seen on my end.
Yes.
And I do apologize if they've already been answered. So tons of parents and family members and students want to know how they're going to find out who their teacher is for this year and who their class is. So at the end of last year, the majority of, all of our teachers should have reached out to their future students, families, let them know. Our teachers are officially back in the building on Thursday. So they will be reaching out to get everybody set up with communications for the year, Class Dojo, Google Classroom. So they will be reaching out. And I will also direct you to me. If you have a pressing question about who your future teacher is, please feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat so that you could shoot me those emails and I could let you know so that you could plan. All the supply lists are up on the website, so and they're all the same for each grade. So if you have a 4th grade student, no matter who their teacher is, they're going to have the same supplies. What type of mask must my child wear? That was an interesting one, and something that we actually had to deal with a lot last year. Obviously, you want the safest mask possible. That's a KN95. They're a little hard to get right now, but any surgical grade mask is going to do. If you prefer cloth, there are cloth options. We want to make sure that we're being as safe as possible. So you want to make sure you're getting a medical grade cloth. If it has a liner, that's fantastic. The ones that we don't want to see are the ones that have the little vent. The DOE has stated that that is not an acceptable mask. So we want to make sure if you went out and got ones and they have one of those vents, we want to make sure we have a closed mask. A lot of questions about mask breaks. The adults in the building also feel the need to kind of free their face every once in a while, take a breath. Teachers are going to be very accommodating of students, if it's to step outside while they're not around any of their classmates or any other members of the school community, to take their mask down. If it's in the bathroom when they're in there, to take their mask down, splash some water on their face. We understand all that. That kind of ties into the question of whether or not there will be recess. Whenever the weather permits, we're going to get the kids outside during that lunch period to get some recess. If they find the opportunity out there where they're not near someone, we will make sure that they're wearing their masks outside. But obviously, the impressive thing that I think everyone, Mr. Arduini, Mr. Gatto, and Mrs., everyone that was in the building kind of noticed last year, we really accommodated ourselves to living this way and being safe. So I think the majority of us at this point are pretty used to the mask wearing, and kind of becomes second nature. So as we've said a couple of times so far this morning, kids are really resilient, and they adapt to these situations. But we do understand every once in a while you need a break, and that will be given by their teacher. I think that's all I see on my end. There was one question about the vaccinated staff members. As I'm sure everybody follows in the news, the state and the city are trying to work out a way to make sure that we're entering the building as safely as possible. We don't know, and we won't know until September 27th, which is when individuals have the ability to submit their vaccination record. So we stay safe no matter what, with masks and distance in the building, regardless of that situation. We also know we have an entire student body that is not able to get vaccinated because they're under 12 years of age. So even more of an incentive to stay absolutely as safe as possible. That's the list of questions that we maybe didn't get to while we were going through our presentation. And I'll go back to the chat and I'll throw it back to you, Mr. Gatto.
All right. So thank you, Mr. Thielen. Thank you, Mr. Arduini. Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. Thank you, parents.
Is Nurse Sanchez still here? Do we need her to say anything?
Yes, Nurse Sanchez. Thank you, Ms. Maldonado. While Ms. Sanchez is logging in, if she's still here, because again, it wasn't mandatory for her to be here, but she, wanted to be here because she's just the greatest.
There she goes. I unmuted her.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Parents, I'm just going to ask one thing of you. Please, if you know that your child is sick, let them stay home. If you have any questions throughout the entire school year, any medical questions, please reach out to me. I'm available. If you call the school, there's an option that says nurse. I don't know what number it is, but you can hit the option and it'll say nurse. And if I don't pick up for whatever reason, you can leave messages. Again, any questions whatsoever, any concerns, please feel free to reach out to me. Last school year, we did really well in the school. There were moments that were a little bit hairy, but with the cooperation of the parents, we were able to navigate all of the issues and problems that we had in the school. So I'm asking you again to please, any questions, any issues, please reach out either to myself or Mr. Gatto or the APs or Ms. Maldonado. Hopefully we'll be able to answer your questions. Pretty much that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Thank you, Nurse Sanchez. I'm going to leave you with this, parents. Our goal is to, again, make sure that your children receive the best education possible. But even more so than that, our goal is to make sure your children stay safe and stay healthy. Okay? We can't do that alone. I'm not going to lie to you and say I have all the answers. I have all the tricks. I have all the, I can do this. Okay? Because the one thing I'm never going to do is lie to you. I need your help. Okay? Before I'm a principal, and I know many of you have heard this before, I'm a parent. And I treat each one of these students like they're my own. And ultimately, in the long run, hopefully there'll be a day where we won't be talking about 99% of the items that are here, or be able to answer 99% of your questions in person. But in order to get to that day, we have to do things that might not, ultimately, again, just as a parent, do your part, we'll do ours, and then together we will be able to assist and make sure your children receive the best education possible. I know that we couldn't answer every question on here, but we tried to answer as many questions as possible. So if you do have any additional questions, feel free to reach out. Please be patient. Remember, there's only 4 of us and 900 of you, or 5 of us and 900 of you. So we are doing our best to answer your questions via email. But I also say to you parents, reach out to a friend of yours who has a child going to PS33, or a neighbor who has a child going to PS33. You'd be amazed on the information you can get from those individuals as well. We will be there. First day of school, we will be outside. You can ask us your questions then. But right now, let's just get through the first day of school. Let's get through the first week of school. Let's get through September, and then so on. So again, parents, I want to thank you so very much for showing up today. I want to thank you in advance for showing up on day 1. Students, I cannot wait to see all of you. It was empty last year. It was an empty building. But now we're back. And it's going to be up to you, boys and girls. As much as I keep on saying parents, once they let you go at the beginning of the day, it's up to you to make sure that you stay safe and healthy as well. So parents, thank you so much. I have nothing further to say other than I look forward to September 13th. I look forward to seeing all of you. And until then, continue to monitor the website, continue to pay attention to the news when it pertains to the school, because just because I said something on September 2nd doesn't mean it's going to be in effect September 3rd. So be safe. And Mr. Arduini, Mr. Thielen, if there's anything else you'd like to say, otherwise, we're done here.
Just tell everyone to enjoy their last week of summer, and we'll see you all on the 13th. Can't wait.
Enjoy, everyone. See you guys next week. I'll make sure your teachers have a lot of homework for you on the first day, okay? A lot of homework.
PS33 does not have a 3K program. All right, thank you all. Have a good day.
Bye, guys.